Philadelphia Baptist Church, the First Baptist Church of Philadelphia, December 11th, 1698. Just 6 years after William Penn established the city of brotherly love, the congregation began in a small abandoned building known as the Barbados Storehouse, which it shared with some Presbyterians. In 1707, the congregation took over the Keithian Quaker Meeting House, and in this building, the Philadelphia Baptist Association was formed that same year. For the next 24 years, the work flourished, so that in 1731, the meeting house was replaced by a large brick building measuring 42 by 30 feet and was called LaGrange Place. This in turn was replaced in 1808 by a still larger and more imposing structure. In 1746, the First Baptist Church of Philadelphia was constitutionally separated from the Pennapeck Church. So you've been to the oldest Baptist church of Pennsylvania, and remember how we talked about how they considered all the branches Pennapeck until they were officially organized. And those of us that understand Baptist polity and what we call the normative pattern of Baptist practice and church planting, there is a nurturing time when a church is nourished by the mother church and helped by the mother church, and then there's a time that it becomes officially autonomous and such. So this was part of Pennapeck, and then it would constitutionally separate in 1746. The Reverend Jenkins Jones, a Welshman, there's again. So if you ever wondered about the Welsh Baptists, you hear so much about the Welsh Baptist revival and all of that, and who influenced the early Baptists. Well, there were so many Welsh people that came into this area that were Baptists. But he was a Welshman, born around 1690. He then resigned from Pennapeck and ministered solely to the Philadelphia church until his death in 1760 at age 74. Now you think about that, how long he was here. His tombstone is in the lower stairwell of the present church, okay? So Jenkins Jones' tombstone is down there. That's what they would do. And some of you guys have seen this before. These big old buildings, like when you go down to where Richard Furman's church is, First Baptist Church of Charleston, you'll walk around the outside wall and you'll see places where they buried people. And then Brother Davis, is that the Granary burial ground where they have them all on the wall there, up there in Boston? And so that's how it is down here. The following year, Reverend Morgan Edwards, okay? Now we've talked so much about his materials towards a Baptist history and very unique, insightful history where we get a lot of first source stuff, which we don't have really from any other sources, who has earned fame not only for his amazing ministry success here and his compilation of Baptist history records, but also because he was esteemed as very eccentric. He was entirely against fighting the revolution on the grounds of religious liberty. So you remember the one guy that we said that was so useful and yet was so much a dissenter, really, of the vast majority of the Baptists in this area. I can't imagine him and David Jones being in the same room, or him and John Hart being in the same room, two men holding strongly to the Baptist faith and completely disagreeing on this. But Morgan Edwards, when we say almost down to a man Baptists fought in the Revolution, he's the reason we say almost, literally, okay? But nonetheless, we as Baptists cherish the fact that he has a conscience and is able to have that opinion. Incidentally, Shubal Stearns was very much like that as well down in North Carolina when all the Baptists were going out to fight in regulation. He knew he was going the way of all the earth and just didn't feel like he should have a decision on that, and so he left that to other men. Edwards arrived from England to become pastor and to begin an outstanding ministry. It was said of him in 1881, in his day, no Baptist minister equaled him, and none since his time has surpassed him. He was largely responsible for the establishment of Rhode Island College, which later became Brown University. So you remember you have a young Hezekiah Smith, you've got a young James Manning, you've got a young John Gannot, and the leading force that wants to start that school up there after seeing the success of Hopewell and how God had used that, this was this man Morgan Edwards. And that, of course, again, would become Brown University. So he was kind of the spearhead of all that. We mentioned the guys on the peripheral, even the ones that were sent up there, but this is the sending agency, okay? So his preaching drew great crowds, and he was actively involved in the politics of his day and at one time placed under house arrest. By the way, there was a day when this building was packed out. There's no doubt for many, many years this building was packed out, and then they dwindled down so far that this is actually run by another church right now. Church life suffered during the War of Independence when membership declined, and it was noted that the church and society here are in a broken state. And every city here in America was the same, faced the same perils, some to greater, some to lesser degrees. Its most notable member at this time was Deacon Samuel Miles, who in 1790 was elected mayor of Philadelphia. And so deacon of this church was actually the mayor of this city at one time. So you have John Hart, and you'd be hard-pressed to fight against people getting involved in politics if you went on this tour, amen? So you have guys signing the Declaration, you got guys, in all different ranks of politics, and then in military capacities and such. A memorial tablet to him is also in the stairwell. So Deacon Samuel Miles was a deacon here and then became the mayor of Philadelphia, so you'll find that as well. Now, did this church do what the rest of them did? Now remember, you're going to have that hard shell predestinarian, old school Baptist thing change in the 1800s as a result of the anti-mission movement. So again, these guys, in reference to their soteriology, many of them were Calvinists, but they still believed in the biblical duty of planting churches. So they did have daughter churches. In 1789, the church gave birth to its first daughter, Roxborough Baptist Church. In 1803, the Second Baptist Church in Northern Liberties was formed. In 1804, the Blockley Baptist Church. In 1809, the First African Baptist Church. And during the rest of the 19th century, it gave birth to at least 7 other daughter churches during that time frame, for a total of at least 10 in that era. In 1806, Dr. William Stoughton became pastor, and his fiery preachings and great labors drew such crowds that it became necessary for the LaGrange Church to be enlarged again during the process. The congregation, while that was going on, the congregation worshiped in the State House, now called Independence Hall. Amen? That would be pretty cool. Stoughton went on to spearhead the Baptist drive for foreign missions and higher education, and in 1823 became president of Columbian College, now George Washington University. And so a pastor here went on to become the president of what is now George Washington University. So when we talk about a religious connection to the early schools, we can decisively and clearly prove that it wasn't just a Christian, just like America. America wasn't founded on Christian principles. It was founded on Baptist principles. Christianity said, let's put them in jail, amen? Baptist faith said, no, let's everybody have their own churches. And so again, we find that here. So